Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. Okay, so I know my camera's all at an angle, and the reason for that is my camera's at an angle, but my seat is like this. I need to turn my seat so that I'm kind of like this. But anyways, sorry. This is a crooked Garage Geek coming to you. I need to fix that. This morning I woke up and for some reason I wanted to hear the song from The Snowman. How many of you know that? So The Snowman is this animated, it's kind of short. It's less than 30 minutes, I think. So here is The Snowman, right? It's this animated short, and there's a song in it. Oh, it's silent too, pretty much. It's not silent. Like there's music playing throughout the whole thing, and then at just one point there's a song, and it's sung by a young boy who's got that like really high voice, like soprano voice. It's such a pretty song, and for some reason I woke up, I don't know why, and all of a sudden I wanted to hear that song. So basically all day I've been listening to the song. It's such a beautiful song. It's called Walking in the Air, and if you've never heard it, I don't know if you'd like it as much because my dog is attacking me right now. You know how you like when you watch something, it just goes well with the image, and so you kind of like it a lot more. It's a beautiful song, but because I saw it in context of the show, I think I like it even more. And so yeah, I've been fascinated with that song. Okay, are you all right? Hey, what? Look, now you're on camera and everybody can see how crazy you're acting. I guess he's missed me today. So usually I film this after about an hour and he's calmer, but as soon as I got home today, after I finished dinner, I started recording this. So hopefully Angel will calm down. Aries has already calmed down, but Angel, okay, too much information, right? I need to cut all that out. All right, so there's a bunch of things that I want to talk to you about, but I didn't write them down. I was gonna tell you a story from school. It was really funny. I don't know why I need to tell this story, but sometimes school's been rough recently, and so anytime that something makes you laugh, it's worth telling. So I have a screen up, and there's a certain program where all the kids are testing, and you can see what every single kid in the class is doing, right? And while they're testing, it doesn't give scores. It just says how many questions they've answered. But after the test, they move on and start working on skills. And if a student starts getting them wrong, it goes red. And then the teacher knows, hey, I need to go up and help that student with the skill, explain it to them. And so I was sitting there talking to one student, and he said, sorry, let me get a cough drop. I guess I still have my cold. Sorry about that extreme close-up too. And so I was talking with a kid, and he looks up at the screen, and you know how kids talk. It's like, so many kids, the way they talk. He was like, oh, and he said the kid's name. He's having trouble. What did he say? I want to say it right. So let's just say the kid's name is Mark. Mark's having trouble. I can't remember how he said it. He said, he's just guessing and clicking shit. And it sounds so stupid, but in the context of the class, I was just like inside. Of course I didn't laugh to the kid because, I almost always say, hey, you're not allowed to say those kind of words in class, blah, blah, blah. It's like a broken record. But it was so funny. He's just guessing and clicking shit. I don't know why. Okay, I need to edit this because already this is off to a bad start. I'm like, okay, let me get on to something better. That story wasn't funny. It's only funny to me. All right, so I saw basically one movie this week. Although I've been watching a lot of shows like The Amazing Race and Hell's Kitchen, like on and on. But this week I only really watched one movie, and that's Nope. But I'm saving it for the end because I want to talk about it, and then I might have a spoilers section because I loved it so much that I want to have some spoilers, and then if people don't want to listen to that part, they could turn it off before the end. Okay, stop. This is crazy. I gotta do my news report or whatever this is called. Friday night chats. We don't need to have your tail in the screen. Why are you barking? He's sleeping. He's fine. Relax. Okay, so we're gonna start off talking about comics. Okay, yeah, comics. Okay, so I didn't even read that many comics this week, so I'm basically gonna talk about 2 or 3. First, I'm reading the Batman Tom King, and it's taking me longer than I thought. So I'm in number 2, and I need to get to number 5 or 6. And so I'm just gonna basically show off some Batman art, because the art in this is really quite nice. So I'm gonna show some Bat art. So here's the cover of it. I think did I show this one before? That's a pretty cool cover. Let's go ahead and so this is the artist that I really, really like. I just like that line work on this. And then here's a picture of Catwoman. Sorry, there's a glare. Here's the cover of this. Now, I'm not going to geek out and tell you the whole story, but basically they invaded Bane's country, and now Bane is coming back for some payback. So that's what this is about. Now, Batman knew it would happen, but he had to do it anyway because he had to break into Bane's country to get someone to help save someone else's life. Okay, whatever. So I'm just going to... So now Bane is coming back. And like Bane is like one of his toughest enemies. And even Batman is scared of Bane. So there's a great picture of Catwoman. Oh, and here's Batman jumping to see her. Pretty cool art. I'm just looking through here. Sorry, I should have prepared with some examples. Like, there we go. They're all hanging. Like, they walk in and see that. And there's the cover of the next issue. Pretty good stuff. Let me go through. Sorry. I really wish... Normally what I would be doing is cutting all this part where I'm going through it. And there's the cover of the book, right? It's the same as that. Well, there it is in the comic book. Oh, he's snoring. And there's a picture of Bane. Oh my gosh. This is kind of boring, huh? Okay, there's another picture of Bane. I really should have done this. Okay, I'm scrolling through it quickly. Do we have any more? All right. Oh, yeah, there's a good... I'm just basically looking for splash pages. So there's Catwoman. She got some revenge on Bane. Here's another cover of a comic. I guess I read more than 2. I read like 3 or 4. Ooh. There's Two-Face. Pretty cool image. I hope you're a Batman fan. Otherwise, I know people are probably clicking off like crazy. Oh, here's a great double page with Bane getting beat up. Bloody. There's another. That one's a little over the top. Well, Bane injects himself... that's another... Bane injects himself... another issue. With these chemicals that like basically roid him up, but it has these bad consequences when he does that. And he actually had gotten himself off of it, and that's one reason he's mad at the Batman, because he had to go back on it to get his revenge with Batman, something like that. That's a good... I'm Batman. It's become so cliche right now. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you about that. And so here's another. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Like I had done more. I'm gonna stop there. Maybe I'll show more in the next time. But there's this YouTube video that I came across that's like, what if Tommy Wiseau directed Batman? And it's, if you can find it, it's about 2 minutes long. It's very short. But I watched that thing about 6 times. If you know Tommy Wiseau, he's the one who directed The Room, or The Room, in that movie, right? And then they They made a movie about the making of The Room, and that was really good too. But it's got its cult status, right? And then this little clip, it's so funny. It's like if Tommy, he's like being Batman, but he's doing everything that he did in The Room. It's really funny. I recommend that. Okay, so Sleepy Reader 666, in his video, he was going over Commandy. Now, I'm going to start by making a complaint. I have a huge complaint with DC Comics, and this is not new. Everybody does. DC Comics puts out, DC Comics, they put out collected editions, and then they'll just abandon them. It doesn't matter. Like, they'll just stop. And so, for example, they put out this Commandy Part 1, and then there's been no follow-up. Right? And so it's just, you're abandoned. Now, this is available in an omnibus edition. I don't want to collect omnibuy. I want this in the, I like this graphic novel format. They're nice. Even though the art isn't as big, I just like them better. And first of all, they're cheaper. And second of all, they're actually really nice. And I just wish they would continue. Now, Sleepyhead Reader, what he's talking about Commandy in the issues like 30s and 40s, and this one is only up to 1 through 20. And now, as a kid, I was seeing Kirby's work from later in his career. I didn't like it as a kid. Compared to everything else that was at the time, it just wasn't appealing to me, right? And so, when I look back now and I understand how important Kirby was, I mean, he started the Fantastic Four, basically, his art. I mean, he's so important, right? And later in his career, I don't think he was as appreciated as he should have been. Like, he was jumping from company to company, whatever. So this is DC, right? He basically helped establish Marvel, probably just as much as Stan Lee, although I don't know all the history. It's complicated. So anyways, Sleepyhead, that was my rant. Now, Sleepyhead Reader has been going through the Commandy issues. He's been reading it with some other people, and so he's been going through the issues. And so I decided, I have this, and I have like 3 other Kirby things that I need to read. So I'm like, okay, let me start reading it. And I was going to read the whole thing, and of course, I only read 1 issue. But we're going to look at a little bit of Jack Kirby Commandy art. Now, at the beginning, so Commandy is called the last boy on Earth, and you could tell even from this cover, it's like, in so many ways, seems like a ripoff of other science fiction stuff. I'm just gonna kind of ignore that, okay? And we're just gonna look at some art. Now, Sleepyhead Reader really was going in and talking about the importance of his splash pages, and those are splash pages, and his double page spreads like that. And he has different types. So there's Commandy. So basically, one of his double page spreads is to show the enormity of what's going on and give us perspective, right? And so that double page spread to me is actually quite gorgeous. So I've grown to really appreciate Jack Kirby art from this period. You know, I understand how important he was. Like, here's another splash page of the map. And then that's as far as I got. So I didn't get to issue 2, but I'm going to keep reading. So I want to thank Sleepyhead Reader for inspiring me to finally start reading some of this stuff. I mean, I've been wanting to. So hopefully I'll be able to go over more of this with you. But the story so far is quite silly. So he's in a bunker with his grandfather during the end of the world. I guess there was some like nuclear bombs or whatever, so they've been hiding, and then all of a sudden he decides to come out, and then he's like, oh my god, my grandfather's dead. Like, he goes back after going out, he goes back in, and his grandfather's dead in the bunker. And so now he's all on his own. It's just like, I don't know, it kind of just was like weird and forced. But I think basically what Sleepyhead Reader said was that It takes a little bit of time to develop, but it's going to get better. But even though the story was clunky, it's still very enjoyable, fun, and I'm just enjoying looking at this art, right? So there we go. Two comics that I kind of I read this week and wanted to share with you. Okay, so the next is books. So I read 2 books this week, and I started another one. So I'm going to start with the one that I didn't get very far in. So I talked about this. Seriously, I'm making my video right now. So I feel like that one, what was that one sketch? What is it? Where is it? What was it, Saturday Night Live? Or there's a guy in his basement and he's trying to do something and he keeps yelling upstairs at his mom because, Mom, we're trying to play our game, Ma. It's like these grown adults with okay, but you're not my mom, you're my dog. Can you relax, Angel? This is getting crazy. Now I need you to relax. Okay, relax, baby. Oh my god, this is the worst episode of Friday Night Chats ever. Thank you, Angel. Okay, so I showed this book in a recent video and said, you know what, I gotta read this. So I started, and it's called Jason and the Argonauts, and it's by Apollonius of Rhodes. Now, I only read book 1 and a little bit of book 2, so it's not very long. I didn't get through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Every night that I come home, I just plop my butt in front of the TV and I am playing my video game. I don't know why. I get that way when I'm playing a game. I get so immersed in it. And I've already spent like 120 hours playing it. That's insane, and I'm not near the end. Okay? Now the other one I spent, I think, like 120 hours, and I was at the end. Or I finished it and I got all of the trophies, but now I'm 120 hours and I'm still nowhere near the end. What? Oh my god. I might have to edit this because this is just getting insane. Okay? Can you calm down? I don't know what's going on with this dog today. Okay, so anyways. So, Jason and the Argonauts, Apollonius of Rhodes. So, let me give a little bit of background, because I know that's what you want. You're dying to hear the background of this. So, Apollonius of Rhodes came way after Homer, who did Iliad and Odyssey. But this takes place before Iliad and Odyssey, and it's kind of referenced in the poem. So, one way you know this is that Odysseus's father, Priam, is one of the members of the Argo. So the Argonauts are the sailors on the Argo. So many of you, I'm sure you've seen the old, not cartoon, but the stop motion Harryhausen movie, which I need to see. I haven't seen that in forever. So anyways, as the Argo is sailing out of the city where they're from, I don't even know what it is. Sorry. As they're sailing away, maybe it's probably somewhere in Greece, because whatever Greece, it's got to be, one of the most famous Greek cities, because Priam and Odysseus, it's wherever they're from, because the mother of Odysseus is holding up the infant Odysseus to see his father sail away, and that's put in the poem just to give it some kind of like context. Anyway, so basically, like 1/3 of the first book is just a genealogy. It's like the Bible, but they go way more in depth. Like every person on the Argo is someone famous from that era, and they go into details of like who their father was and what glorious deeds they did, and so it like really sets it up. So it's a little bit of a slog, but it's actually not that bad, but you got to like slog your way through it. It was worse. I was just talking to a friend about this earlier. Like, at some point, I need to reread The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, because I haven't read them in so long. And then I started The Silmarillion, and I got so bored because it was about all the genealogy. It's just like, it's like reading the Bible on steroids. It's just like this begot that, and this and that. And it's like, So I don't know. I need to go back, and I actually need to get through the Silmarillion. But that's what this kind of reminded me of, right? Because you're slogging through all these people and their genealogy. But then once it gets going, it's got a lot of interesting things. Now, Jason is the leader of the Argonauts, but Hercules, who's called Heracles here, he's actually one of the crew. But there's some issues, right? Because everyone knows Hercules is the strongest, and they want him to be the leader. But Heracles, bows out and lets Jason be the leader. Now, there's a bunch of problems with Hercules. And by the end of the first book, he's gone. But that was really interesting how they did that. But there's as they're setting this up, they're they do a lot of these really weird and negative things. Like Jason stops at an island, and the people on the island, including a very young king, they invite them in and they treat them well. They give them dinner. They host a banquet for them. Blah blah blah. They treat them like the greatest hosts, and at this time that was so important. And so the Argo goes off, and they're sailing around these islands just to see what's around, and they come back in the dark, and they think they landed on a different island, and they find the people there, and they start attacking them, and then the people there defend themselves, including the king, and they kill everybody, they slaughter everybody, and then they wake up in the morning like, oh, these were the people who treated us so nice. We just killed them all. I was like, what? I was like, that's not a great way to start your voyage. And then another thing this is a really weird part. So Heracles has this, it's not clear if he's like a servant or an aide or just a companion. So his name is Ilus, I think, something like that. And so Ilus is, Hercules is off doing something, I don't even know what, hunting, I think. And Ilus is at the river's edge, and he looks into the water, and Ilus is so beautiful and gorgeous and handsome that a river nymph grabs him and pulls him in and makes him her husband. It's like, okay, I take you, and grabs him. Now, the other Greeks hear him cry out, and they go rushing and looking for him. They can't find him at all. And so they go, they tell Hercules, and he's incensed, and he's like insane with rage and grief, and like he's running around accusing everybody and killing people because he thinks that they've stolen him, blah blah blah. And then finally the people, I want to find this, finally the people, it's near the end of book one, finally the people are like, no, this is what happened, blah blah blah. And they say, this one little line was like a throwaway, but I was just like, what? He said, still today, this Cianian people ask after Hylas, son of Theodamus, because they said that they would always keep looking for him, and recognize a bond with well-built Trachis, the town where Heracles immured the boys they gave as pledges to be led away. I was like, what? So first off, they wanted to placate Hercules, so they gave him a whole bunch of boys as pledges. Okay, so he takes them away, and what does he do? He immures them. Now, I don't know if you know, but to immure is basically to bury alive, but not in the earth. It's not burying alive. I'm going to show you some pictures, so let me pull that up. It's very gruesome. It's like if you put someone and built a wall around them so they couldn't move, and maybe they're all the way covered, or maybe just their heads are covered. And so it takes a lot longer for someone to die, because if you're just buried alive, you're going to suffocate and you're going to die quickly. But this way, you either starve to death or whatever. So hold on. Immure. enclosed or confined against their will. But I'm going to look at images to immure. Oh, so it's the pictures aren't coming up that I saw before. So let me type Hercules immured the boys. Let's see if that comes up. Immured the boys. Well, and that's something else I haven't done. I don't know why it's not coming up, but when I looked it up before, they showed there were these really pretty gruesome pictures of what people look like when they've been immured. What if I put in immured? Oh yeah, that did it. So for example, here's someone immuring, like here's a someone that's being immured. They've chained them up and they're just closing them in the wall. And again, that reminds me of the Cask of Amontillado, because that's what they did in that. He immured what's the guy's name? I can't even remember. Fortunato. Okay, and so basically they're like bricking them up in the walls. But I saw this one where they're just like putting bricks around them, and so I thought, wow, that's disgusting. So they basically they gave him a bunch of boys to be sacrificed, and I don't know, just and what bothered me is it's just like a throwaway line near the end. It's like, oh yeah, he led the boys away to be immured, and then they keep going, blah 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 blah. It's like nothing. The town where Heracles immured the boys, they gave us pledges to be led away. Now, I don't know. I was just kind of that disturbed me, that whole thing. So like the cruelty of these. So the people in these, they're heroes, they're demigods, and they just treat humans as like cattle to be sacrificed. Okay, enough of that. But I am enjoying this, and I'm gonna keep going. Okay, this is, like I said, this is the best ever episode of Friday Night Chats. Oh, sorry, I want to sip my coffee. Let's talk about a controversial moment before we go on with another book. So, I was doing a news report with the kids in school, and one of the things that they mentioned was that scientists have been doing tests, and it seems that plants actually cry out when they're in stress, and they emit supersonic noises or sounds. And I was like, wow, that's really crazy. Like, number one, how do they produce these sounds? So I actually, it's called the Weekend Wrap. So all they do is they take news events and they rap about the news in like 3 or 4 lines. And I actually want to do some research into this. And another teacher came in, and I was talking to him about it while I was playing. And we were talking about it, and he was like, wow. And I was like, yeah, but he was saying something like, oh, we got to be better with plants. I'm like, dude, humans aren't even good with each other. Another human could be crying out in pain or be in pain on the ground, and we just walk right by them. We don't care about children who are in pain. We absolutely don't care about animals who are in pain. Who's ever going to care about plants? He was looking at me like I was insane. I go off sometimes. I was like, because I get down on humans, right? I'm a vegan, and so sometimes I get on my holy high horse. And so, I mean, but honestly, if you tell someone, hey, plants actually make sounds when they're in stress, like, who's really going to care about it? Or if they do, they might think, oh, that's bad. And then they're just going to go ahead and keep doing it. I don't know. So, okay, that was my controversial sidebar. What do you think about that? And if you know anything about it, please put it in the comments, because I really want to know more. I'm going to learn about this. Okay, so maybe I'll be able to share more with you for next week. But that was like really interesting, because think of all the millennia that we've been, doing whatever we do to plants just because we can. And then we find out, oh wait, they have pain, and they they cry out, or they whatever. It's not the same as human pain, I get it, but if they are crying out from stress, that's something that we should know about. And whatever. Okay, sidebar done. Let's go on to the second. Oh, why did I put this away? Let's go on to the second book that I read this week. So I'm back in school, so I'm back to listening, and I'm doing well. So I finished the fourth book in the Parker series, and this one is called The Mourner. Now, as you can see, this one is about art. So Parker gets involved with a criminal element, and he's hired or gets involved with stealing art. And so this is definitely out of his wheelhouse, because he doesn't like when people talk, and he doesn't, care. He's basically, by the books. This is what I need to do. Okay, I'm going to go do it. He's very good at thinking his way through and planning things and doing what he needs to do to get a crime committed without being caught. Now, again, what's interesting about this book is there is another criminal, and the author takes time to develop that criminal who's very different from Parker, with very different motivations, and a very different type of person. And we get to see how that person is developed, and we get to see his flaws. He's kind of a dandy. And we get to see how that all plays out. And so we get this juxtaposition of criminal characters. And that's something this author does really well, showing us various elements of crime and crime syndicates, and how crimes are committed, and how they're thought out, and how they're planned. So again, this series, I'm very much enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it. And this was, I think, book 4, The Mourner. All right, let's go on to the other book that I read. And this one was very fast. So this is another one of those 2-hour books. I think it should be just a chapter. And so this is called Exteriors, and this is by the Nobel Prize winning Annie Ernaux. And so, as you know, if you've been listening to my Friday night chats, I am trying to read as many of her books as I can. And yes, I put this on her because in the original photo, she's nude and her butt's there. And I didn't want that. You never know on YouTube if something's going to be blocked or for what reason. And so, yeah, I gave her a little outfit. So there we go. Annie Ernaux, Exteriors. Now, what is it about? At the beginning of the book, she outlines what she's going to do. And she does that often at the beginning of her books, because they're kind of like essays. Now, where's my Nobel Prize? Here we go. So she outlines exactly what she's going to do. She says, when my mom was with Alzheimer's, here, I want to show this. So these are all the ones that I've read so far. And those are the names I'm keeping track. And then that's the one I just did. So this is, again, the Freeform app. I love this app. Okay, so when I scroll out, you can see that's what I was showing you. And this is the list of all the Nobel Prize winners. And then these are some others that I read. I've read way more. I just haven't gotten to putting them on there yet. So anyways, this is what I was showing you. Okay, Annie Ernaux. And so she says that one way that she was able to cope with what was going on with her mom was just to record everyday events in a journal. And so she would go around, and some of them are, one line, some of them are a couple paragraphs, some are, much longer. And she said that she tried not to put her judgment in, but what she wanted to do was these little vignettes she thought can say so much without being explained. So she's giving us a lens, basically, of what to look at when we're reading these little vignettes that she puts. She wants these vignettes to show how society can be broken into like levels, or not castes, but like status, socioeconomic status, and the way we treat each other. And so these little everyday actions can reveal a lot about society, basically. And then she just goes ahead and, puts all these vignettes. Okay. So one that stuck out to me was, from like I'm thinking about right now, is all these fine ladies in their really nice clothes. They're walking by this homeless person on the street, and his zipper is unknowingly opened, and his testicles can be seen. And so nobody wants to tell him, and they see it, and they get like uptight, and their faces turn red, and they walk by even faster. And all she does is describe it, but she doesn't want to put any commentary on it. Although sometimes she even mentions herself that, like, she loses herself and goes ahead and makes a little bit of commentary about it. But that was like one of the vignettes, like, that are supposed to reveal things. So basically it's just this litany of all these different aspects of things that she views. Like, she's on the bus, or she's at the library, or she's in the supermarket. All these little like vignettes. So you're basically listening to vignette after vignette. For me it was 2 hours, because it's a 2-hour book, and it's very short. And again, it was enjoyable. Was it her best? No. But I actually, you're getting a window into the past with her, and a different country, a different society, right? Because I've never lived in France, and I think she's in Paris or somewhere near Paris, I think. And so to me, all of that is, literally foreign. And so I'm like I said, I'm really enjoying it, and I especially liked that at the beginning she gave the backdrop, because I have listened to the books about her dealing with her mom and her father, and so this is just putting it into that. And that's why I also say that so many of her books are like chapters of the same kind of story. Now, the third book that I read, oh, I don't have a picture of it, do I? The third book I read was, what was it called? What is it? Oh, what is this? First of all, let me see if I have a picture of it. No, I didn't have a picture of it. And how can I forget the name of the book? What was it called? It's called Time Shelter. Now, I'm going to look it up so I can show it to you. So, Time Shelter is a book that is on the long list for the Booker International Prize. And it's called Time Shelter. Now, I was very excited about this book because it was time travel, but it's by Georgy Gospodinov. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. Now, I read the one, or have the edition. I didn't read it. I listened to it. Okay, I can't bring it up better. So it looks like this. And to me, this cover made no sense. Okay, so I'm gonna show you another cover, and this cover makes total sense. So I'm gonna talk about that, and I'll show you both of them again. Like, I didn't understand the cover of this book, even though the color scheme is really pretty. I didn't understand it, but the other one was so much better. So, anyways, here's what the book is about. Not spoilers. It's like, first of all, wait, I won't go there yet. So it's basically about a man who is there's the narrator, and he kind of makes up a guy who's real. It's strange. So the other guy that he makes up is a scientist who works with people with mental illnesses, especially older people and memory loss. Okay. And so he devises an idea to help these people by setting up on every floor of the hospital, it will be a different decade or a different time period so that those people can feel comfortable. And so they, if they wake up from or go into an episode where they're losing their memory or experiencing loss, right, it'll be comfortable. Now, they started talking about the mind as a time machine. And this idea was really, really interesting to me, right? We're always talking about, time machines. You jump into a time machine, you go to the future, go to the past. But with Alzheimer's, the mind is the actual time machine that's pushing you further and further back into the past, and sometimes you can't come back from it. I thought that was a really interesting idea. And then his way to help those people, like I said, would be to build different floors that related to different time periods and to get all the details right, including like daily newspapers and news reports and like all the knickknacks and whatever you have. And everything gets, once you're in that time period, it starts moving forward from there. And this is where I didn't like this book. Okay, I'm going to say that it was very well written. And I think what soured me on this book is it didn't live up to the premise. The premise is so fascinating. But it doesn't do that. It basically becomes a political novel talking about the history of the politics of Bulgaria and in Europe. And that's not what I wanted. And even I don't care if it's well written. It didn't deliver me what I wanted, and I wanted a time travel, like a book with that premise of, number one, the idea of Alzheimer's and how you can help people. That wasn't developed because it moves out where this idea catches on, and whole sections of cities are relegated to different time eras, and whole countries are starting to vote. Like this country wants to be in the 1940s, and they take votes, and then even when they decide to do that, it isn't developed. It goes into this really long history of Bulgarian politics, and I was like, yeah, I was bored at that point. And like I said, the writing is good. This book wasn't for me. Now, a lot of people are really, really praising this book. I'm not. And in fact, the YouTuber that I follow, I'm going to put the link to his video. He actually didn't like it either. And so we were kind of on the same page with this book. Like, I did not enjoy this book. And I think the reason that I didn't enjoy it is I couldn't get over that the premise was wasted. And yeah, I just didn't get over it. And so I didn't want to read or listen to Bulgarian politics. Not when you teased me with this idea of building a world where every floor of a hospital is devoted to helping patients with Alzheimer's overcome their processes. And I wanted to see, like, what would happen with these patients. And that's all dropped. It's like it's dropped very quickly. And so, again, I want to show you the two covers. This is the cover that I think works really well. Okay, because they basically show a book where there's a whole bunch of different rooms. Like that makes sense. And each room is a different time period. That totally made sense to me. Like, I did not understand this cover at all. Okay, I didn't get it. I thought maybe the two colors were trying to represent two different personalities, maybe the narrator and the other guy, and maybe they were aspects of the same person. I got sick of trying to figure it out because that other cover is so much better. Like, I didn't understand what this cover had to do with the book. I dislike this book so much. I'm like ragging on the cover of the book. This one wasn't for me, everyone. But you know what? Like I said before, you're not going to like everything you read. And I actually think it's not a bad novel. And if I ever were to read this thing again, like to give it another chance, I would definitely be going in knowing that it's not what I expect. Another time that I had a reaction to a book like this for not delivering on the premise was The Leftovers. What an amazing idea for a book. And then it just seems wasted. And if you don't know the premise of that, The Leftovers is like half of the world's population just suddenly disappears. And then the whole rest of the population is left to just deal with it. Like, why? Like, they don't understand why. Like, just imagine if 50% of the people just vanished. And then how would we cope with that? Like, how would we like deal with that as a society, and how would we move on from that? And the book seemed to waste that premise. It's very good at the beginning, and that's why I was so happy they made a show. And I really enjoyed the show. There are 3 seasons, but I've only watched 2. I need to watch the 3rd season. It's the guy who did Lost and Watchmen, and he did such a great job on that show. He like saved it, because I think he understood the premise and he went with it, and he really develops some of the characters. Anyways, we're not going to talk about that show. It's a great show. I think I'm going to be watching the 3rd season soon, and when I do that, I'll definitely talk about that. All right, so I've talked about the books. I've talked about my comic. Oh my gosh, I'm already 46 minutes? Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And I haven't even talked about Nope. Well, I'm going to do it. Okay, so I don't know if you haven't seen Nope. Nope is, I think, the 3rd movie by Jordan Peele. So Jordan Peele is fast becoming one of the best horror directors. Jordan Peele on Nope. Right, he started out as a comedian, and he made this. So he made Get Out, which is excellent. He made Us, which was excellent, and then he made this movie Nope, which is excellent. So this is the spoiler-free part, and I don't even know if I'll go into the spoilers because I'm already at 47 minutes. What do I say about this movie? So number one, if you go into this movie thinking it's a horror movie, you're going to be disappointed. Okay, that's number one. Now, this isn't a horror movie like his other ones. It's more sci-fi. Okay, and then even that idea gets not converted. I lost the word. I'm getting Alzheimer's. Even that gets inverted, converted, diverted, something like that. Okay, there's a word missing here. It means like changed. So you think it's one thing and then it becomes the other thing, right? So although this movie has horrific elements, and there's a couple of things that are pretty horrific, it's not a horror movie. It's sci-fi. And then it becomes a cowboy movie. And it's kind of a mix of sci-fi and cowboy, which is interesting because almost all sci-fi and spaceships, they're basically cowboy and space movies. It's like The New Frontier. And yeah, I mean, I don't need to go on to all that. So this is a curious mixing of the cowboy movie and sci-fi with some horror thrown in. And I thought it worked really well. Now, this movie has a couple of really important themes. It's all about what happens to people in many industries where they're not really appreciated. So the industry they're talking about here is Hollywood. Hollywood eats people up and spits them out. And I said that on purpose. That's kind of a spoiler. So there are so many people who work in the system and then they're just thrown away or abandoned. And this happens, for example, to child stars, right? They're used when they're young, and when they grow up, they're used to something like a certain lifestyle or a certain way of living. And then once they're at a certain age, they're not wanted anymore. And then they have trouble overcoming this. And we've also seen how young stars, the psychological ramifications of of Hollywood on them because, we've seen, they're always in the public eye, and like, they're always, everything they do is under scrutiny, that kind of thing. It's also about the effects of trauma, long-term effects, and survivor's guilt. There's a big section of the movie about that. And this is, if you, so first of all, it stars Daniel Kaluuya. Sorry if I mispronounce his name. And also there's Daniel Kaluuya. He was also in Get Out. So he was the star of Get Out. And then Steven Yeun, obviously he's from The Walking Dead, but he was in that really, really good movie that was up for Academy Award. I can't remember, about the Korean family. Oh, that was such a good movie. But now I can't remember the name. I'm so bad with the name, sorry. But anyways, the trauma in this movie is represented mostly by Steven Yeun's character, and how he deals with that. Now, I'm just going to say that I absolutely loved this movie, Nope. And even though I'm at 50 minutes, I think I'm going to go into spoilers. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about everything that happens, but I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about some of the really interesting aspects of Nope. So feel free to turn this off now. Hate saying that. But if you've been with me up to now, thank you so much. I had a really rocky beginning. My dog, he finally, like, as you can see, he laid down and he's very calm. He's very happy. Both dogs. So anyways, let's talk about Nope. So Nope has what we think. So we think the movie is about aliens. And in a sense it is, but the object in Nope isn't a spacecraft. It's an animal, possibly from another world. And this thing like sucks. It uses like some kind of wind to suck things in and digest them. So it flies over, sucks you in, and digests you. And there's this one really horrific scene where it shows everybody being pulled up, an audience. And this actually ties in with Steven Yeun's character because he basically sacrifices himself. Like, he's got survivor's guilt for something I'm going to talk about. So he, his whole audience, including himself, they're sucked up into this thing. And we go inside with them and we see how they're like stuck inside and they're all screaming. And then I guess they slowly get digested. So it's really horrific. Like, that's one of the horrific elements of this movie. Like, just that thought. And they show you a little bit. And then whenever that alien thing is flying over, you hear all these screams. That's basically the sound as it's flying by. Because those people inside and animals and other things, I guess it takes a long time for them to die. It's kind of like the Star Wars creature where they fall into it. Like Jabba the Hutt brings them on that sky thing, and he was pushing them into that sandworm. I guess it's a sandworm. I don't know. And it takes them like 1,000 years to be digested. So it's kind of like that. So let's talk about Steven Yeun's character. So Steven Yeun was this one of the stars, a child star, on a sitcom of a family, and the family had a chimpanzee. Now, this is based on a real event. A chimpanzee went crazy on a set of a film. I don't know the exact details, but Oprah had this woman on, and she basically wears a veil because her face is fully disfigured because this chimpanzee went crazy. And so there's a scene in this movie where this chimpanzee, like, it's a birthday, and so the balloons are released and they go up, and I guess the balloons hit lights and they start popping, and the noise drives the monkey crazy, and he starts attacking and killing everybody. And then there's we don't know it till later, but one of the young girls, she's probably about 12, and the monkey disfigures her. And so later she's in the audience at the she's one of the ones that gets sucked up, and she's wearing a veil, and it's based on that real life event, and that was horrific too, like just that thought. But then Steven Yeun's character as a kid, he's underneath a table and he's hiding, and he's watching this monkey kill everybody, and finally the monkey calms down, and he's sitting there, and he sees the Steven Yeun character, oh, his name is Jupe, under the table, and he starts coming toward him. But the thing is, there's a tablecloth that's like a veil, and because he's not looking him directly in the eyes, the monkey like puts out his hand, and and as in like a friendship thing, and that's the monkey is then, that's exactly when the people come in and kill the monkey. And so not only that, like he watched this whole scene, and then the monkey is actually trying to be nice to him and make up for what he did, and then the monkey is killed right in front of him, like blood splatter. And so there's this wonderful scene in the movie where Steven Yeun is he's asked what happened, and he starts talking about a Saturday Night Live skit that they made based on that event. He can't talk about what happened directly. He has to relate someone else's experience of it. He tells everything that happens in the Saturday Night Live skit, and we realize like he's so filled with trauma that he still can't even deal with it. And in the time when that alien comes, like he's in with a group, he kind of sacrifices himself. He wants to be killed by this alien, in my opinion, because he's still overcome with survivor guilt, because he watched everyone else die on that set and he was the only one to survive. It's a really fascinating aspect of this movie. Now, another thing I mentioned about the eyes. This movie has so many themes that deal with eyes and sight, and there's so many. So another the main character, Daniel Kaluuya, is he's a horse wrangler, and basically he takes animals or his horse to movies, and they use the animals in the scene. And he inherited this from his father, and his father was killed early in the movie with a really interesting scene, how his father dies because it's the fault of the alien. So he's bringing the horse, and the horse, again, the horse sees something really shiny. It's like a flash. It's like a flash, and he's warning them not to do it. And so the horse lashes out and kicks, and he's basically told to leave. And so he's like thrown out, and they're going to use like a dummy horse instead, like a green screen. And so this is another example of how his business, like they used to be so important, and his horses were all over the place. And then how they're basically, nobody wants them anymore. And he was lucky to even get that job, and then they were thrown out for something else. And actually the movie begins with that theme, because it has something to do with, if you watch it, I don't want to go into detail about a horse and a rider, and the first rider, the first image in a motion picture is an African American riding a horse, and it's the horse galloping. And the point is that we remember who took that image, the person behind the scenes. The person riding the horse is forgotten, African American. And that's the one you see. And it's a really interesting kind of metaphor that this movie runs with. And again, but we're going to go back to the sight. So the creature, if you actually look at the creature will get you. But if you don't look at the creature, then it will pass you by. And that didn't make sense to me because I didn't see any eyes on the creature. So I was kind of like wondering how that worked. But anyways, it fit in with the rest of the theme. Now, the design of the creature is really, really interesting. And like I said, this becomes like a sci-fi movie that's more of a cowboy movie, because from the point on, they're trying to track this animal creature. They're trying to get it on film, and they're using this really ingenious way of trying to track it and destroy it because they want to stop it from killing people. And it becomes like this cowboy film. And there's a really interesting homage to the cartoon, the animated movie Akira, when Akira, it's such a super famous scene. It's the one that they always use when they talk about Akira, where he's on his motorbike and he does the slide toward the camera with the, like away from the camera with like a trail and the smoke. And they do it in the movie. So that's a pretty cool scene to geek out about. Overall, I don't know. I can't stop talking about this movie. I was thinking about it for days after. I just love how complex it is, how many themes there are, how it's developed. I love the characterizations. Is it a perfect movie? No. A lot of people won't like it because like I said, it was pretty much advertised as a horror movie, and it's not that, right? And so I don't mind if something is advertised as one thing. Oh my God, I'm a liar. Because I just said earlier, Time Shelter. I I thought it would be one thing and then it totally wasn't. And so I'm a liar. I do mind. But I guess I like sci-fi. So if it wasn't horror and it's sci-fi, it was okay. It went in that direction. But maybe if Nope, said it was horror and then became a movie about politics, I might have been angry. Maybe I'm just more forgiving to film than the books. I don't know. So, anyways, there is my really long Friday night chats. I really should have gone in, and I really should go in and cut so much of the first 15-20 minutes because I was having trouble with Angel. But you know what? I'm not going to do it. Whatever. I want to thank you for being along with me on this, crazy journey of my Friday night chat. I absolutely love your comments. Please, I'm at 398. I'm like so close to 500. No, to 400. I'm like, I need to get 2 more. It's just like, for some reason, it's like a mental thing. When you finally reach it, you're like, 398 is not good enough. I need 400. So anyways, I want to thank you all again for sticking around. And again, I love your comments. Have a great weekend.